Hi, everyone. I wanted to take a little bit of time to go over essay number one with you so that you are as fully aware as possible of what you need to be doing for this essay and what I'm expecting from the essay and how you're going to be graded on the essay, all that good stuff. So this is probably going to be a longer video considering it's an instruction video, but I think it's going to be beneficial. Let's go ahead and pull up the assignment sheet for essay number one, right? Okay, so for this essay, you are going to be writing about a conspiracy theory of your choosing, right? So I've broken this down into steps, and we're going to go through them, okay? So step one, you're going to first learn about conspiracy theories in general. This information is going to come from the conspiracy theory lesson here in week 5, everything in that lesson. So my PowerPoint and video that go together, the 2 articles I provided links to, the interview between Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michael Shermer, that video, and then the 6-part series on conspiracy theories. That's going to be your foundation. You have to do that first. Then step 2, once you have a solid understanding of conspiracy theories and what they're all about in the general sense, you will then choose a specific conspiracy theory you want to work with on this essay. So I listed these towards the end of the PowerPoint, and so it's the same list that you have perhaps already seen if you've gone through that lesson already. But our list here is the Flat Earthers conspiracy, the conspiracies surrounding the JFK assassination, the conspiracies surrounding the Martin Luther King Jr. assassination, the conspiracy of the moon landing, so the moon landing hoax, the satanic panic of the 1980s and early 90s, the vaccines cause autism theory. I don't want to do any of that, just vaccines cause autism, just that one. Okay. 9/11 truthers, that 9/11 was an inside job. Chemtrails, that the Sandy Hook shooting was a hoax. Birds aren't real. The QAnon theory, and COVID-19. Now, there are several conspiracies involving COVID-19, so you will need to choose just one of those for this essay. Trying to cover all the different conspiracies surrounding COVID is too much. So just choose one. Do you want to look at a conspiracy theory involving the origin of the coronavirus? Do you want to look at any of the theories, what's in the vaccine, because we had theories that there was a microchip that was going to be in the vaccine. And then there was also everything involving the 5G networks, right? So choose just one, right? I think if you choose a theory that's a little bit older, you're probably going to be able to find a lot of good information. But I've included the recent theories as well because some people will be drawn to them because they're still out there in the public conscience, right? I do suggest though that you hold off on choosing one just yet. Get through the rest of these instructions and everything that you're being asked to do, and then maybe think about which one you want to go with. And you may want to, do a little bit of brief research on a few of them just to make sure that you know which one you want. Now, if you're looking at this list and like literally nothing appeals to you, definitely reach out to me. Maybe we can come up with an alternative conspiracy theory for you. If you have a conspiracy theory that you are interested in that is not on this list, reach out. Maybe we can make that work as well. Okay. All right. Step 3, once you've chosen your conspiracy theory, the next step will be to research that theory. You will want to gain an understanding of that theory's main claims, the evidence that is used to support those claims, and the public's reaction to those claims and evidence. I encourage you to look for sources that promote your chosen conspiracy theory. Like that, I want you to look for sources that try to prove the conspiracy theory is true. And I also want you to look for sources that try to disprove it. Right? Remember, a good critical thinker keeps an open mind, and we are trying to give an overall perspective of this conspiracy theory. Okay. As you are conducting your research, you want to be thinking about each claim, each piece of evidence, and whether they stand up to the standards of strong argument that we've learned about recently. You'll also want to be thinking about the people who most vocally defend this theory, and the people who most vocally refute this theory. I don't mean specific individuals, I just mean as a group, those who defend it, those who refute it, and think about whether or not they display any signs of weak or strong critical thinking skills based on what we've learned so far in the course, right? So, we're going to take a closer look at what I mean by that here in a little bit, because I'm going to show you sort of an outline of one way you could think about what you're putting into the essay and how to organize all of it. So I'll kind of be talking about those things in a little more detail here in just a bit. Once you've done your research and you feel like you've conducted enough of it and you have enough to sort of fill in the sections of the outline that I'm going to show you, then it's time to write the essay, right? So you're going to want an introductory paragraph and a thesis statement. You're going to want to give an overview of your conspiracy theory. You're going to want to give claims and evidence that support that conspiracy theory. You're then going to analyze those arguments. Then you're going to analyze the believers. Then you're going to discuss your findings, and then there's going to be a concluding paragraph, right? So that is sort of the skeleton of what's going to go into this essay, the sections of the essay. Again, when we look at the outline, it's going to be in much more detail. That's just a very general sense of what will make up this essay. But first, you can see that the essay requires all the basic elements of an essay. So an introductory paragraph with thesis statements, body paragraphs with unity, support, coherence, and the concluding paragraph. The essay is also required to be in APA format. So you'll need a proper header, a proper title page, proper section headings, proper citations, a proper references page with proper reference entries. You will also be expected to show adequate proofreading skills, so no spelling, grammar, and mechanics errors. And I won't say no, but very little of those errors. Now, you can review all of those concepts, right? So the writing process, basic essay writing skills, research in APA format, grammar and mechanics, by looking at the lessons in the bonus material module in our course content area on Brightspace. It is the module at the very end of the list, right under week 10 module. And I actually want to show it to you real quick, just to make sure. There we go. Okay. All right. So come here to our course content, right? We've got our getting started. We've got week 1, week 2, week 3, all the way down to week 10 module. And then here at the very bottom is bonus material. You click on that, scroll down a little bit. You've got grammar and mechanics, several lessons in there with refreshers on some of the most common grammar and mechanics errors. Right? Then we've got writing an essay. So we've got introduction to writing, the writing process, introductory paragraphs, thesis statements, body paragraphs, point, right? Body paragraph support, body paragraph coherence, concluding paragraphs, and the revision process, right? So everything you need just about basic essay writing. Then we've got APA format and research papers. So I've got a lesson on APA format basics if you need a refresher on that. I have a lesson on how to create proper reference entries in APA format, a lesson on how to create proper citations in APA format, how to use your sources and avoid plagiarism, super useful lesson, how to get started doing a research paper, how to draft a research paper, and then how to integrate source material in your research paper, like how to effectively use the information from one of your sources and incorporate it into the paragraph, right? A lot of useful stuff here. I will say that all of these lessons here in the bonus material are from other classes that I teach, because I do teach a few composition courses. So it might refer, some of the lessons may refer to textbooks and page numbers or even assignments that are obviously don't apply to you guys. And obviously this is just bonus material. It's just here to help you as a resource in case you need a refresher on any of these things. There are no assignments associated with any of this. It is just here to help you, right? So keep that in mind because you will need to incorporate all of those things for this essay. Once you are happy with your essay, you will submit it as a Word doc in the assignment spot for essay number 1. You have until the end of week 6 to do this, right? You're getting 2 weeks to work on it. And there will be no new lessons next week either. It will just be a repeat of the conspiracy theories lesson. So it's going to look exactly the same. The only exception is there will be a discussion next week that you'll see that, but no new lessons in week 6. It is just continuing to work on this essay, right? So your submission requirements, the essay should have a properly formatted header, remember APA format. It should have a properly formatted title page. It must be double-spaced and it must be in an appropriate font style and size. It should begin with a solid introductory paragraph that grabs the reader's attention, introduces your topic, provides any background information if needed, and ends with your thesis statement. Your essay should include the main sections shown on the outline that is attached to the assignment instructions, the one that I'm going to go over in just a moment. Has to have those main sections. Each of those sections should be explored in as many paragraphs as necessary. So remember, a paragraph contains one main idea. So if you switch to a new idea, you switch to a new paragraph, right? Even if it's building on the same concept, if you've moved to a new focus, you move to a new paragraph. Each paragraph should contain a topic sentence that introduces the main idea of that paragraph. The topic sentence should also include a transition that links the current paragraph to the previous paragraph. Each paragraph should be fully developed, perhaps with the use of sources, but most certainly with your own ideas. You will obviously be incorporating source materials throughout the essay, but that doesn't necessarily mean that every single paragraph will include source material. But either way, the paragraphs need to be fully developed. Use the source material when needed, but make sure that you are including your own ideas and knowledge in the essay as well. Each paragraph should end with a concluding statement that wraps up that paragraph's main point. Again, everything here is covered in that bonus material. Under essay writing, there's paragraph, point, and then support, and then coherence. That's what we're talking about here. Your essay should end with a fully developed concluding paragraph that not only reminds us of your thesis statement and main points, but also leaves us with a feeling that we have come full circle with all our questions having been answered throughout the body of the essay. You are required to use sources. There is no minimum source requirement for this essay. I'm not going to say, you have to use at least 3 sources or you have to use at least 5 sources. Use as many sources as needed for your conspiracy theory, right? Any information obtained from a source must be cited with a proper APA parenthetical citation. Failure to cite your sources constitutes plagiarism and could result in a failing grade. If you are unsure about any of that, go to the research in APA format lessons in that bonus material section. Right? There should be a citation every time source information is used in the body paragraph. Any source cited in the body of the essay must appear on your references page. And again, please refer to the research in AP format lessons under the bonus materials if you need help with anything source related. Your references page. The essay must contain a references page, right? It should be properly formatted. The sources that are listed on the references page should have properly formatted reference entries. Any source that's listed on your references page must be cited and used at least once in the body of the essay. Again, all that's covered in those lessons under bonus materials. So some other little requirements and reminders. The essay is an APA format essay. It is for a college level course. But you want to make sure that your writing shows an appropriate level of voice, tone, and formality, but I also want to hear you coming through. All right, so you got to find that balance. You're not writing to a friend, but you're not writing to a panel of scientists either. Like, it should have a bit of a friendly tone to it, but not informal or inappropriate. You want to have as few spelling, grammar, and sentence mechanics errors as possible. Again, there are review lessons in the bonus material section for that as well. And what is here in the yellow highlighted area, I will be running the essay through a plagiarism checker. I do this with every type of formal assignment in every class I teach. I just immediately, when I go to look at it for the first time, I upload it, send it through, and see what happens. So if your whole essay or a significant amount of your essay has been lifted from one or more sources, you're going to receive a 0 on the essay until you submit a new version that is not plagiarized. If your essay contains multiple small instances of plagiarism, so instead of a whole paragraph being copied and pasted from a source, it's like 4 paragraphs in a row where a sentence or two is copied and pasted from a source with no citation, right? That's going to get a 0 until you resubmit it without those plagiarized sections. If your essay only contains 1 or 2 very small instances of plagiarism, maybe just a sentence or 2, I will go ahead and grade it, and there will be points taken off for those very tiny plagiarism instances. And I will point it out and tell you that you got points taken off for that reason. And then, you can always revise and resubmit if it really brought your score down. But all this to say that I won't grade it at all if it comes through the plagiarism checker and significant portions have been copied and pasted. So if you are unsure of plagiarism, what it is, because there are many forms of plagiarism, I highly suggest looking at that lesson in the research and APA format folder in the bonus material section, the lesson that's called Using Sources and Avoiding Plagiarism. And then reach out to me if you still have questions. So that is the overview of this essay, what you'll be doing, what it's all about, the steps you'll take to get there, and the requirements for submission. What I want to do now is go to that outline that I mentioned and show you a little more detail about the essay. So first things first, it is an APA essay, so you want to make sure you have your title page and all other design elements properly formatted. After your title page, you don't need an abstract because student submissions no longer require an abstract with the 7th edition of APA format. So no abstract on page 2. Page 2 will be the start of your essay. You will have an introductory paragraph that grabs the reader's attention, introduces your chosen conspiracy theory, and just a little overview, like not a deep overview, but just a little background on that conspiracy theory. And then the introductory paragraph will end with your thesis statement. After your introductory paragraph, the next section of the essay is going to be an overview of your conspiracy theory. So you're going to provide a general overview of what this conspiracy theory is all about. You are not going to be discussing any of the specific claims and arguments yet. You're just simply going to tell me what it's all about. Cite any sources if needed. The next section of the essay, that's when you're going to look at the claims and evidence, right? So you're going to discuss the evidence, any of the big claims associated with this conspiracy theory. If your conspiracy theory holds many claims, maybe just focus on the bigger, more important ones, right? I would say probably need at least 2 or 3, and depending on the how in depth each one goes, right? So the major claims associated with this conspiracy theory and the evidence that they use to support those claims, right? You are not responding or evaluating these arguments yet. You are simply telling me this is the first reason they give, and here's their evidence to support it. You're not saying anything about the claim or evidence, whether it's strong, weak, makes sense, doesn't make sense, whether you agree with it or not. You're not doing any of that in this section. You are simply summarizing the claims and evidence they use, right? Make sure you go through the claims one by one and that it's not all jumbled and messy. Make sure you cite your sources when using them, okay? The next section now is when you're going to analyze the argument, right? You're going to use the skills that we have learned to analyze the claims and evidence. Now, I have sort of broken down all the things that we've learned about in weeks 1 through 5 that I want you to look for when you are evaluating this argument. You're not going to find all of these things though, right? So for instance, informal fallacies. Did you come across any informal fallacies while you were looking at the claims and evidence for this conspiracy theory, right? So what are our informal fallacies? Do we remember? I want to make sure I hit all of them and don't leave any out. All right, so we have our fallacies of ambiguity, equivocation, amphibole, fallacy of accent, fallacy of division, fallacy of composition. We have fallacies of relevance. I know you're going to find some of these as you're looking up and researching the claims and evidence for the conspiracy theory. But that would be ad hominem, appeal to force, appeal to pity, popular appeal, appeal to ignorance, hasty generalization, straw man, and red herring. Did you come across any fallacies involving unwarranted assumptions? Begging the question. I bet that happens. Inappropriate appeal to authority, loaded questions, false dilemmas, questionable cause. I bet that fallacy pops up a lot. Slippery slope. That could be there. Naturalistic fallacy. And then we have weaknesses in the argument. Are any of the claims ambiguous or unclear? Are the premises supported by the evidence? Are the premises relevant to the conclusion? Are there any unstated premises and conclusions? Are the premises true and do they support the conclusion? So here's where you're actually evaluating the argument. Are there any inductive arguments used? Are there any generalizations? Are there any analogies? Are there any causal arguments? I bet you find some of those. For each of these that you find, evaluate it. And again, that information is found in the chapter, how to evaluate. Are there any deductive arguments that you've come across? Those aren't as likely as the inductive arguments, but you never know. If something is in writing, supporting, explaining and the claim and evidence, there might be sort of a logical format to the argument. If so, is the argument valid? Is the argument sound? Right? So that whole section is where you are evaluating, analyzing the arguments, the claims, and trying to find these informal fallacies, the weaknesses, the inductive arguments, and the deductive arguments. Again, you will not find every single one. Each conspiracy theory might show up with different variations. So look for them though, and include what you do find. The next section is going to be an analysis of the conspiracy theorists, the believers. Okay, so do you think that our explanations involving proxy conspiracism, tribal conspiracism, or constructive conspiracism apply in terms of why people might believe in your particular conspiracy theory? What about other reasons? Do you think that people who believe in this conspiracy theory are prone to hold barriers to critical thinking? Do you think that people who believe in this conspiracy theory are prone to cognitive and perceptual errors in thinking? Do you think they're prone to any social errors and biases? Talk about what we've learned in terms of critical thinking skills and personal attributes that could help explain why certain people believe this specific conspiracy theory. Then the next section, don't forget, cite sources if needed. Discussion. So based on all the information that you have learned about conspiracy theories here in week 5, what is your final determination of the conspiracy theory that you chose for essay number 1? Do you think it qualifies as a conspiracy theory based on what we've learned? Do you think that it is a valid theory? Now, valid doesn't mean true, right? We can't say if it's true. Remember, valid is just, it's a logical argument. Then we have to decide if what all the statements are true. That's what determines if the argument is sound. But I'm asking, do you think it's valid? Do you think that they have they even accomplished that first step? Is it logical how they've laid the pattern of reasoning out with all of their claims and evidence? What information are you already aware of that could refute this theory? There might be things out there that we already know could prove that the theory is not sound. And if not, what additional information do you think is needed to either prove or disprove the theory? What questions are you left with? Then you'll have your concluding paragraph, and then the last page of the essay should be your references page. Okay? Now, again, you're not going to be able to find every single little thing that I have put here on this outline, but you will want to look for as many of them as you can, and you will want to follow this same general pattern of organization. So, introductory paragraph, overview of the theory, claims and evidence, analysis of the argument, analysis of the believers, general discussion, concluding paragraph, references page. Right? Okay. Do your best. All right. I'm so excited to read these. I can't wait. I hope you guys have an interesting journey with it the way that I'm hoping you will. Again, you have 2 weeks to work on this, but I would highly suggest getting started on it sooner rather than later so that you aren't rushed at the last minute. And again, take it seriously, but I really don't want students to become so stressed that they are making themselves sick over this essay. Reach out to me before that happens, okay? All right. Let me know if you have questions or run into problems. Otherwise, you guys are free to go ahead and get started on this.